Hey, Dave has two new poetry books. Marriage is just two people Googling separately, Love Poems in Need of Counseling, and Rise and Speak, Poems for Justice and Hope. Check them out now on Amazon or wherever great books are sold. Thanks.
Welcome to Daily Gains. I'm Dave Joseph,
I'm Jeremy.
and we're excited to share the word with you as we meditate on the truth that is before us. So let's get started. 1 John 4:8. The one who does not love does not know God, because God is love.
The one who does not love does not know God, for God is love.
May God bless the reading, hearing, and understanding of his word. Amen.
Amen. I told you yesterday I was on a trip, and on this trip, I had a trip because there was a guy who was tripping, and this person was describing all the things that God was doing in his life, while also using some of the most colorful language I've ever heard, and also declaring that essentially, if you cross him, he will destroy you.
That's a new blessing.
Yeah. And when he received some pushback from the quarter of, it doesn't seem, God says forgive, he pushed back on his heart and says, I'm not trying to hear that. You disrespect me, blah, blah, blah. And as you're reading this, I'm thinking about this. But he that does not love does not know God, for God is love. There are a lot of Christians that I've seen post a lot of things that I have to question. Do you know God? Because God is love. And what you're doing here with your words, with your conduct, does not demonstrate what we talked about in yesterday's episode. Outwardly focused, self-sacrificing, doing for the good of someone else. I think that this question is one that we need to hear in the church. We need to be challenged with as we come to the communion table. Do you love? Because God is love, if you are not walking in love, if you're struggling to love your brother, your sister, your neighbor, you have to ask yourself the question, do I truly know God?
This is similar to, do you have joy? If you don't, I struggle with, do you understand who Christ is in your relationship to him? Have you experienced his love and his overflowing in your life? Not do you know about his love, but do you hold to it to the point where it is your identity, not your works, not your worship, but it is truly the love of Christ, from his interceding on our behalf now, to his death on the cross, to his coming into the world.
There's some kind of idea tropes in my mind. It's the cross-stitched verse pillow, or the cross-stitched verse tapestry painting wall hanging thing. Where we've got this nice verse and it's got the reference below there and a butterfly on a something. We had several of these when I was growing up. In our house, we had several of these. And I think it's because my mom, being blind, didn't decorate our house. I think if she had been able to see, these probably wouldn't have been there. And I don't want to cast shade, but I will anyway. The Christian bookstores put this stuff out like they were trying to smother anything with any kind of aesthetic sense. And it makes me angry a little bit. That said, Jesus was really clear. They're going to know you by your love. And that's not a cross-stitch pattern on a pillow that Jesus intended to be dropped on the floor when you sat down on the couch. But because it's so easy for us to say that, I think it often becomes just a throwaway, yeah, no, that's true, I agree with that. They should know us because of our love. Of course they should. Think about the historic period in which Jesus said these words, right? Rome's in power. Rome came to power after the Alexandrian Empire was broken up. Alexander took power from the Persians. The Persians took power from the Babylonians. The Babylonians took power from the Assyrians. The Assyrians took power from the Egyptians. You can go back and just in one area of the earth over the course of 1,500 years, you have names like Philip, Alexander, Julius Caesar, Agamemnon. You have all these names, and none of these guys are known for love. No one hears these names and thinks, that guy was a really loving guy. I think about the kingdoms, okay? I think about the kingdoms of Persia. I think about the kingdoms of Babylon. And what these kingdoms were known for, including the Romans, was their brutality. If this nation came in and wanted your land, they were not just going to take your land. They were going to take your kids. They were going to take your wives. They took everything. They were brutal. Their torture was brutal. Their fighting tactics were brutal. When they beat you in battle, it was brutal. What they were known for was inventive ways of creating pain and extending lives to maximize the pain exerted on you. That's what they were known for. They were known for their cruelty. When these armies walked in, when these generals were on the march, the word was, watch out, cruelty's coming. And Jesus, in the midst of this, knowing he's going to be hung on a Roman cross, says to his disciples, they shall know you by your love. When people see you coming, what they're going to know because you're from me is not, here comes brutality, here comes cruelty. Here comes love. Here comes an outward focus that's self-sacrificing for my good. And John picks us up. He says in verse 7, everyone who loves is born of God and knows God, and whoever does not love, in verse 8, does not know God, has not been born of God. Why? Because God is love. So as I confessed the other day that I was feeling grumpy, I don't want to be known as Pastor Jeremy the Grumpy. And Jesus has called me to not be known as Pastor Jeremy or Father Jeremy or Brother Jeremy or Son Jeremy the Grumpy, or the pissed off or the wisecracker, but Jeremy the Loving. And my prayer is that God would make that true of me. Because there's a whole lot of people around me that I know God has put me here to be a conduit through demonstration of his love towards them, as an invitation. And it's not just for their sake I want to do that, but it is because of all that God has done for me. And I want him to say of me, Jeremy understood my love, Jeremy received my love, and so Jeremy walked out my love to the people I put in his path, so that my love could flow through Jeremy to those people so that they could be reconciled to me.
Amen. Love is too amazing to stop with us.